All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time to have some fun tonight. Andy Allen is in the house. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing great, feeling great, and so excited to be here with you,
Well, you know,
Mr.
I said that
Griffith.
last week, and I'm gonna say it again this week because it's a duplicate. If you're looking at anything like you're feeling right now, I know you got to be doing marvelous.
I am. I
Yes,
am
yes, yes.
indeed. Yes.
Well, you know, I'm honored to have you here with us tonight. Your story matters. As I said, man, you have something to share that truly will inspire and empower people to understand what it means to know the humanitarian cause for those who are disabled, the humanitarian cause for those who need a little handout, you know. And for all of the years that you've been involved with Best Buddies that I've known you, boy, you have been a true master at that. And I'm not exaggerating when I say a master, because I know you're shuffling a whole lot, like they say, shuffling. You
Oh
know,
yes, oh yes. It's a big job, but one that I feel immensely privileged to have. So
yes, yes. Who
just
better
happy to be
deserves it
here.
than you? So I tell you what, with that being said, I usually run my mouth for about a minute and I bring this music to a stop and I do make it very official. Andy Allen, I'm going to look here, man, at your sheet because your accolades are just incredible. I can't sit here and read every last one of them, but the ones that I love the most, you were previously the Associate Executive Director of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. You know, you've worked very closely with Children of Healthcare of Atlanta. You've been with the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And more importantly, you are with Best Buddies. You are the state of Florida's director. And that means, like I said, it's one of my questions. I won't jump ahead of myself tonight. But boy, you got a big job. So,
I
Andy Allen,
do.
I'm going to shut up my mouth, turn it over to you, and let me ask you that all famous question. What is your why for being where you are right now and doing what you do? What is your why, Andy Allen?
Wow, wow. That is a loaded question, to be
Yes.
honest. But it's so, when I reflected on this question, um, I had to lean back into family.
Mm,
I have a legacy. I have two children. I have a legacy to live. I want them to be proud of the work that their mother is doing. For the IDD community, but also just within the nonprofit sector. I've dedicated my life to working
yes.
within nonprofit, and I've brought my children up, and now I'm bringing my grandchildren up within this sector as well. And so, it really is about the legacy that I leave here on this earth, and making sure that my children are proud and my
I love it.
grandchildren are proud.
Yes, yes, yes. I want to intervene and just say you use one word that's truly part of my mantra for life: legacy. You know,
Mhm.
and I think, especially in the African American community, there is always this hidden obscurity that we don't seem to address legacy. But I'm
Yes.
here to tell you this right now, that I know without a doubt that what you said about legacy is true because of what you do and the organization that you're associated with. So I'm here to tell you that I concur with you about family. And I haven't had an opportunity to meet any of your family other than you, but I'm sure the apples don't fall far from the tree. You know,
They're pretty good kids. I enjoy them.
well, hey, at the end of the day, they're just assigned to you through spirit, and you just have the job to take care of them. And all I can say to you is that, I have two sons, a beautiful granddaughter. And let me tell you something. I'm just proud to say both my sons got the college degrees. My granddaughter about to go off to college. And it's just, well, if I drop dead tomorrow, Andy, I must have done something right.
That's right. That's
That's the
right. It
bottom
feels
line.
good. It
That's it,
feels
man.
good. I know what you mean. It sure does.
Well, I'll
And
tell you like this too.
congratulations.
Oh, no, thank you very much. And I'm on a mission to just have more and more people understand the priority you make about legacy, the way you look out to make sure that you're a blessing to others, you're going to be blessed. And I can sincerely, truly say that, that I look back and I say, wow, you decide to stop trying to make it so much about yourself and decide to help others, not just even in your immediate family, because you have a family and Best Buddies.
Yes.
I know that without a doubt, because as a retired teacher, 31 years, over half of those years were in very close proximity to the entire way that you all facilitate the services in the Best Buddies or high school sector. And I must commend you that it has been, for me, one of the most phenomenal things that the school systems could have ever opened the doors to, because when one of those Gen Ed kids would definitely partner with a kid with an intellectual disability. Oh boy, their light bulbs say, and that's all I can
Yep.
say. And you and I both know, because we're on the inside. For those who are on the outside looking in, Best Buddies is one of the largest nonprofits in the world. And one of my questions I have to ask you, I want you to do this for me so that they can understand, our listeners, our watchers, those who may come back to the archive view of this. Tell us about Best Buddies, Andy. Tell
Okay.
us. So a lot of people are obviously just oblivious to what is Best Buddies and what is it all about.
Absolutely. So, Best Buddies International, we're an international organization, nonprofit 501c3. I specifically have the pleasure of serving as the state director for Best Buddies in Florida. But what we do at the organization is we are impacting the lives of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we do that through our 5 pillars, our 5 mission pillars. Those pillars are friendship, leadership, employment, inclusive living, and our newest pillar, which is family support. And within those pillars, we are, it becomes this cyclical life cycle. We're providing needs for the entire life cycle of individuals with IDD, which is the acronym for intellectual and developmental disabilities, and their families. So our mission pillars are interconnected, and they're so extremely important to ensure we're advancing this great work that we do.
Oh, this is excellent. Would you repeat what IDD stands for again, ma'am, so that they can have a more clarified understanding?
IDD. Absolutely. Yes. IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Interesting you use the word developmental. I've always been curious about that. So the idea that those with significant cognitive deficits is an ongoing saga. It's not like it's just you jump in for a moment and jump out. If I'm to interpret that correctly, that this is developmental ills, you're always work in progress. I always say WIP, work in progress, to be the best that you can be, and it sounds to me like, yep. That's
an amazing summary of our programs, and that's why these pillars and the growth. I mean, we've been around since 1989, and it started out with the simple premise of friendship. Everybody deserves friendship, and our CEO Anthony Kennedy Shriver, made it his mission to bring people with IDD and without IDD together, and we've grown into an empire. I mean, we have 5 different mission pillars, and again, we're impacting the entire life cycle, which is, a lot of times what you find, you really were exposed to Best Buddies within the school system as an educator, and a lot of times what you find is that once someone with the IDD leaves that community, they tend to graduate to the couch. They no longer have that social circle. They no longer have that structure. And organizations like Best Buddies and organizations like it, we're here to provide that continuity of services.
Wow. Hey, Andy, I got to just, you don't mind, I'm going to be the spontaneous guy that will jump in with something to say that's very relevant for better retention and recall, because if we remediate those retention and recall, I want to make sure I back it up. You say they graduate to the couch. I love that little metaphor about the reality that they leave. I was a past program teacher for 6 years. You're familiar with the past program because you know the education system, post-alternative secondary schools. And I'm here to tell you, if they don't get a job through that past program, you are quantifying without a doubt. I run into some of our kids 5-6 years later. Hey, what's Billy doing? What's Sally doing? Oh, he's just hanging around the house. I'd say, what? But there's Best Buddies, the alternative.
The alternative. That's right. That's right. And we're, in Florida, we're really proud of the impact that we're making. We're, of course, again, we're an international program. We have a footprint in all 50 states as an organization. But here, Best Buddies in Florida, we have a team of 45 full-time employees that are working programmatically to ensure quality programmatic delivery, as well as our development team to raise the funds that are necessary to sustain the program. But this team, the impact that we're having is it's amazing. I mean, some of the outcomes, the positive outcomes from the programs that we're able to deliver, watching individuals go from nonverbal to verbal,
Mhm.
individuals go from graduating to the couch to working full time and not needing to be on Social Security and living on their own in our Best Buddies Living program. And it's just amazing. The outcomes have been, simply outstanding. So in
Wow.
our friendship program alone, we have 258 school friendship chapters throughout the state and over 10,000 members.
No, you
And
know something? I got to stop you because uh, there has obviously been growth within the last bio that you sent me because you said
yes,
40 employees, now you said 45. You said
yes,
9,000, and the growth is quite evident now. It's 10,000. So let me tell you
yes,
something. And, and, and I've been honored, thanks to Miss Andy Allen, to be the MC, host, vocalist, whatever. I could be under one umbrella for that gala a couple of years ago. And it seems like
yes,
yesterday, Andy. That seems like yesterday. And what I've
yes.
witnessed, the way that you navigate the entire facilitation of that gala was just incredible. You mentioned something that I want to back up to because it's critically important at this point.
Okay.
You said 250, did you say 58 schools? How many?
Two, 258, 258.
That
Yes,
is incredible. Because one of my
yes,
questions was, as you know, as a state director, and I thought it was 40, but it's 45. How do you manage to just oversee the full scope of that? How do you stay so interconnected? And come on, let's face it, Florida is huge.
yes,
You got to be all over the state. You got to be so many places. You got so many fires to put out. I mean, I was in the trenches with you for about a 2 or 3 week window, and man, I mean, I witnessed you one on one. We'll keep it quiet about what, but you and I both know that I saw Andy Allen keep cool and put a big C on cool and maintain and understood that, okay, this is one of these files I got to put out right now. And ma'am, I want to commend you because when we walked out of that meeting together, you and I that night, you and I both know we just looked at each other like that. I said, oh my God. I said, wow. And I'm not exaggerating. You know that, Andy.
yeah.
I said, wow. And what I'm saying that to say is that your ability to stay cool, calm, and collective, your ability to only speak when necessary, the true things that I think that maybe the American Express Leadership Academy taught you, because you exhibited some of those things that your skill sets would encompass. And I just want to commend you for that because that
Thank
night went off without a hitch.
thank you.
I guess
Thank
for the
you.
last part of it, that my back went out. I would never
Yeah,
forget
that
that,
was
Andy.
not
I would
good.
never forget. I stood up and I was standing right in front of you. I said, Andy, we got a problem. And I don't know if you remember that or not. I said, my back is acting a little crazy. After 25 marathons, lifting equipment as a musician all those years, I've had this on and off intermittent hit with my back.
Oh,
And of all the nights, I've been
of
standing up
all
from
the night.
5:30. It was about 10:30. We had the last little round of awards. And I'm telling you the truth. And I'll never forget what you told me, Andy, because it stayed with me. She said, well, my feet hurting too. I said, trust me, I know your feet hurt, but what I'm experiencing, boy, 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 if it wasn't for, I think his name is Keith, one of the
Yeah,
LD students who helped me with the process in the end, it was like, oh boy. But God
yeah,
is good. We got through it. It was a
we got through
phenomenal
it.
night. You mentioned Anthony Shriver Kennedy. The etiologies of best buddies go back to the Kennedy family, right?
Yes, yes, it
Mm,
does. It does. So, his mom, Eunice Kennedy, it started Special Olympics, and his
really?
brother continues to run Special Olympics.
Oh,
Yes, so
wow.
yes, yes, there are sister
Well, I work with
organization,
Special
and
Olympics just like I did with Best Buddies, and that's
yeah,
another very, very special organization. But I had no idea that she was the origins of that organization.
she
Wow.
is. And I think what's beautiful about, the segue of Anthony moving from what he experienced growing up in his family to starting Best Buddies is they truly
Yes.
made this a family affair. They see the impact and the positive outcomes that they're having on the lives of others, specifically those with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities. And they made it their life's work. It's impressive.
Well, I tell you
Yeah.
what, you know, let's face it, the Kennedy family lives on, the legacy lives on. PL 94142 was 42, excuse me, due process idea, individual disabilities, Education Act, all of that came as a result of their mandates. They were in the big house and they made some big noise,
Yeah.
and especially for those with disabilities. I don't even want to bring up what's existing in our big house now, because when I heard that almost 80% of the money to go to kids with special needs was practically cut out of the budget, Andy, I was like, whoa, I was losing it, man. I could not believe why do you want to bother them? Why would anyone want to take away people who can't take care of themselves, excuse me? Why would you just intervene to interrupt that process?
Yeah.
Nothing's broken. There are no hidden obscurities. Everybody knows they all have needs. Not going anywhere. So those, the kind of actions like that happen in our present day and time, along with everything else, that's existing in this country right now, it's really scary, because everything is a feedback mechanism to somebody needing something, and somebody decided, I don't think you need it and I want to take it away. And that's why I applaud you, because you're saying, I'm going to stay on my path. I'm going to continue doing what I do. That's why I want to circumvent back, because we started talking about the gala, but I asked you a very powerful question. You're not going to get away with this.
Okay.
How in the hell do you handle 45 people all over the state, 258 schools? I mean, 10,000 participants. Come on, Andy. You got to tell me, what's the secret there? How do you manage that?
You know what? I cannot tell a lie. It's the team around me. I have an amazing team. Clearly we're in 7 markets. I can't be in all 7 markets at all times. Those markets are managed by area directors. They oversee a team of program managers. I have a state leadership team that they have specific responsibilities tied to each of the program pillars. And then someone that supports me in overseeing development for the state. And we built in those layers. This state did not look like that when I came on board, and we built in those layers, and we've been successful because of it.
Wow. What year did you come on board? What year did you come into Best Buddies?
2017.
Wow. And 3 years later, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot one of those accolades that are definitely without a doubt worthy of mention. State Director of the Year for 2020, Andy Allen, in a 3-year window. Woo!
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
Thank you.
I'm going to do this for you, whether somebody out there doing it or not. Come on, man. I know what you're dealing with. I know what people deal with just within the parameters of a county's Best Buddies. I was at West Broward High School for the last 11 years of my teaching career, and we were very much a very active chapter. You know that. I don't have to tell you, you know that. We had, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years in a row, the #1 fundraiser in Broward County, which is the 6th largest school district in the country. So, and to watch, shout out Sandy Mendez, Hilda, all the ones that I can talk about who are on the inside over there with the beautiful ESE department at West Broward High School. You said it. And I did a keynote about it. TEAM, together everyone achieves more. You said your team was a significant factor in that. And you see that when you have a leader that leads by example, who's also able to listen and not always be so much of a facilitator, you'll get that kind of response mechanism. And now that you've told me what you're doing, is such a huge undertaking. And when I see, when you micromanage just in one county, like Broward County and Dade County, I never get the last time you and I had a meeting, you were telling me how, just even the Tri-County area down here, it's huge. It is.
It is.
It is. So I commend you for that. Thank you for just letting people know what it really means out there. So now I've just kind of talked about this a little bit, but I've also seen the difference in being in different schools who have Best Buddies and schools that didn't have it. And what would be the hidden obscurity in that? And I think my question was centered around, is it pretty much, is it the parents? Is it the students? Is it the school location? Is it the teachers? Is it the school administration? I mean, what is it? All of the above? What would be that element that? Because I know, and I'm not here to say one school's better than another one, but one thing I can say, there is an energy There's some
Mhm.
schools, and West Broward was the epitome of that. When it was
Mhm.
time for a best buddies meeting, everybody was off the chain, including myself.
Yeah.
We all enjoyed it. When we came
Yes.
together under one roof there was this synergized energy that, especially when there's that special gen ed student that connects with that kid with that intellectual disability, and
Yep.
they create this bond. I remember Molly and Jennifer. I remember them
Yep.
like like yesterday. I've never seen one couple just she left and went to college and came back.
Yeah.
Everything she's done, she stayed in touch. And I know you can't give it a small percentile of them that are doing that, but the question is, what is the element you think that brings up this in the cohort that we're speaking about, just this discrepancy sometimes? Because a few schools I know, they always say, oh man, we're not doing that at Best Buddies. Another, oh, we're not doing that. And I'm saying to myself, the real simple question I asked you at the beginning of this, why
I
not?
know. I know. I know. I know. Well, you know what? The secret sauce. That's what I like to
Oh,
call it. The
uh-huh.
secret sauce for those chapters that are just excelling with their Best Buddies programming, is when the mindset of inclusion is adopted as a lifestyle. It is a culture within the school. It is not a
Woo.
club. It's not an act of charity. It is
Uh-huh.
a culture, a lifestyle, and a mindset shift that is adopted and supported from the tippy top all the
Wow.
way to the bottom. And
Wow.
those are the chapters that do really, really well. And when a chapter is not, at that level, that's what we aim
Mhm.
for. That's why our program managers go into the schools. That's why they help
Mhm.
them build so that they can become that. Because again, these
Mhm.
are our future leaders. These are the individuals that are going to go into government positions. They're going to make the laws. They're going to go and be CEOs within their companies. They're going to determine who gets the money, right? And
Right.
so we need to make sure that we're building this army of advocates within the school system so that as they go off and they make an impact on the world, they never forget their Best Buddies journey. It is always
Wow.
there with them.
I love what you just said. I love when you just broke that down and said this is a mindset culture. Andy, and you know something? That's when you can tell it. That's when there are many Molly's and Jennifers hanging around. That's when you can
Yeah.
tell it. When I come to the meetings, when I went to the gala, when I went out to Nova South Eastern University there, and that's all blessings came from that because that's where you and I met. And
Yeah.
and, I,
Yes.
and to see that walk, to see all of those parents show up, and everybody just comes to this giant, just synergized energy of oneness for those
Yes.
with disabilities, oneness for those that need a hand, not a handout. They need a
Yes.
hand. And when
Yes.
you now explain that, you said one word in that whole conversation there, mindset. And with that, I'm going to segue to what I do every Thursday night because it's so relevant to what you're talking about. If you'd like to be a winner of this book, can't reach my other one over here. Yes, I can. These two books are my books. And I'm going to say this tonight. I'm on a mindset mission to shift your mindset in 2026. These books matter to me. The most important one right now, I'm running a 30 days to a new you challenge. And I'm telling people, that your mind, body, and spirit, sometimes you need someone to feel your pain points with you. Sometimes you need someone to help you define yourself. Sometimes you need someone who's probably been around the block a little bit. If you want to write your first book, I got two. If you want to take better care of yourself, I've run 25 marathons. I used to be the head coach at Flanagan High School for 7 years there. And I'm here to tell people that you are mind, body, and spirit. My Strive Masterclass on Thursday nights, always my unconditional plug. I didn't realize, Andy, we've already been at this 25 minutes. I can't even believe it.
Whoa.
Yeah. I knew it would be like this because your story matters so much, and you and I have so much in common with my background in education, how you're educating us tonight. But I wanted people to know this as you kick off your new year. Keep in mind, you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. If you like to come into my 30, 60, 90-day challenge, I'm running all the way through this month of January, and I'm no longer going to run it again. A half price of what I call my Get Activated community. You come into the community, you get a copy of the book free. You get me every month for a 30-minute or more consultation. I mean, you get into the Get Activated community, whoever shows up are like-minded people synergizing for one cause, and that is to activate a better version of yourself. I'm not saying you got to run a marathon, but you got to take care of yourself physically. Your health is your wealth. Your mental health is your wealth. Your emotional health is your wealth. Your spiritual health is your wealth. So my job is to find balance for you. Look at your pain points. Look at your imbalance, because a lot of people, and Miss Allen, I know that you can concur with me, because we run into the families who have these kind of obscure situations. They live with something that's called organized chaos. They just know something's wrong. They know there's imbalance, but they'll just continue to just strive on that same path that's all the way going to lead to this book title right here. You're either going to activate and find those places, or you're going to stagnate. Activate or stagnate is true about life. Everyone procrastinates. Andy, you know what I'm talking about. We all sit on the bench of procrastination. We put it all off. But boy, once you get activated, once you recognize that pain point, once you recognize that place where there's toxic people, toxic environments, poor time management, that's my job on Thursday night. So come on out. You can go to theactivator.net, or you can go to either one of those links there. If you want me beyond just once a month and you want to come into what I call my 30 Days to the You MPC, and that's Maximum Potential Coaching. Of course, it'll cost you a lot more money, but you get a lot more of me. And I promise you, your life won't be the same. And I say that with an unconditional 30 Days to the You money back guarantee. That's enough for me broadcasting about me, and I want to do it every week, but I want people to come out on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Now, I'm going to move on with you. I say this to you with very due respect. You got some obstacles, and I know we all do, Andy. We're best buddies right now. You know, what's your primary obstacle when it comes to, should I say, let's get back to integrated employment, getting out there in the community. I know what I went through when I was the past programs facilitator, and everybody out there will not have their hands open to the disabled. And you and I know that. So what is your primary obstacle when it comes to just integrating that employment sector and getting those opportunities?
Yeah. You know what? I think we're still in that space where we're busting myths about the what individuals with IDD bring to the table in an employment situation. You know, a lot of times there's a huge culture shift within that company, and they don't realize the sheer benefit that comes with hiring an individual with IDD, just culture alone. You know, employee culture, I think about my team and, you know, how we keep them motivated and uplifted. And, you know, we have a job that, you know, fills our cup on a daily basis. That doesn't mean that we're not a business with the bottom line. We still have goals, we have objectives, we have metrics to hit. Those are all our responsibilities. But at the end of the day, we can take a look at the impact that we're making, and we can feel good about that. Well, a lot of times when you get into the for-profit sector, you got to work even harder at what it means to, you know, bring teams together, to motivate them, to keep them, you know, in a good place so that they're productive. And a lot of times you bring someone to the table with the IDD, and that entire office will shift. I mean, you know, it's just, individuals with IDD are happy individuals 9 times out of 10, right? And I know you know this because you've lived this within the school system.
No doubt.
They just bring a lot of joy into the workplace, but they also have skill sets. You know, you're not doing them a favor. That's the thing. When you hired someone with the IDD, you are not doing them a favor. They are a dedicated employee that tends to show up on time. They do their job. They do their job well. They are pleasant to work with. There's so many benefits to hiring an individual with IDD. And again, it's not an act of charity. It's a mindset shift. And that's what we're continuing to work on, is to help employers see the true benefits to inclusive hiring practices.
Wow. I got to just say, man, when you said it's a mindset culture, when you said that they're going to be doing themselves a favor to hire, I've gone over to Publix right around the corner here,
Yeah.
and I see one of my students, Terry, and I see him, and he's been there over a decade, and he's just a bad boy, and he loves that job. He shows up every week with that relentless enthusiasm, and just like someone told me many years ago, when it's relentless enthusiasm, it is contagious. People just feed on it. They feed on your happy smile. They feed on your ability to want to give 110%. And what people don't understand, here's that hidden obscurity that's one of those underlying negative hidden obscurities. You know, when someone will do something, speaking of an IDD student or an adult, and it's in the workplace or it's in the public sector, there seems to be this negative domino effect that, oh boy, that's how they are. I don't want them on my job. I don't want them in my business. And you see, that's the sad reality, that it's a very, very small percentage of those kind of occurrences. As a matter of fact, while I had my job as a past program teacher and facilitator, there was a huge company in the public sector, and I'm not calling any names just for the sake of conversation, but they're huge with a giant H, okay? And an incident occurred in one of their stores, and you know something? They blocked everybody from going, and the bottom line was this: you know, the other huge people kept them. The other huge people kept their doors open. And look at Publix right now. I just gave you a classic example, and all we had to do was continue to stay on the path that something's going to happen. Nobody or nothing is perfect, you know. And you just said that though. Once they understand what our kids, I'm gonna call them our kids, because I was around them so long, I'm gonna feel like I'm still part of the family. You know, it's because it's true, Andy. What you just spoke is the truth. When you get a dedicated kid with special needs to come in and commit themselves to a job, you've done yourself the biggest favor you could ever imagine. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, she just asked me to remind everyone, you know, Gregory Tavares. I'm going to say his full name because let me tell you something. What a special kid. He's still working at Publix. But boy, when I tell you an articulate personality, when I tell you someone who's got, because of best buddies, he loves he loves the organization like Leonore is another one, loves the organization like you wouldn't imagine. And you know something, that speaks to people like you, Andy.
Yes.
People like you know, and you know something, you mentioned something too that, and I don't know, was it a sensitive subject or not? You said it was okay to bring it up. You said your sister's Down syndrome. And I said to you, would that be the fuel that keeps your engine burning? Because, you know, a family member, someone you're around all your life. There was a special on Netflix the other night, and the whole special centered around a family with a kid with autism, an African-American family, and the father was an attorney, and the mother became a commissioner in the city. Then it was all in the settings of Chicago. But what I realized, even though that was a fictitious Netflix film, or documentary, or series, excuse me, the right word, it hit home with me. It hit home with me. It hit home with me in a way that, and I thought about you. I said, now here's someone who wakes up every day, and by default, she has to deal with that sibling in the family, that family dynamic, because we all know it affects the family dynamic. How did that, should I say, fuel you for what you're doing right now with Best Buddies?
Well, you know, the funny thing is that I love my sister to pieces. She, of course, fuels me. I think what really sparked my interest about dedicating my time to this work specifically was when the opportunity was presented to me. The recruiter said, hey, take a look at this organization, see if you're interested in it. And I went on the website. I read all of what this organization had to offer. I had a sister with Down syndrome, and I had never once heard of Best Buddies. And I thought to myself, how many other families out there? How many other families are not aware of the resources that are available to their loved ones? And I wanted to be a part of the solution and not the problem. And so I
Wow.
became intrigued. And then I interviewed with Anthony at their annual leadership conference, and I became
Yeah.
obsessed. I was like, I want this job. I want this job so bad. It's just so amazing. It's so
You
inspirational.
know
It's just
something,
great.
Andy? What you exhibited is what I talk about to people all the time. You found the passion.
I
You found
did.
the
I
passion.
did.
You activated that passion, and nothing in the world could ever stop. When it's passion, that means it's the purpose. Whenever
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
passion, there's always a purpose behind it. And if you, all you got to do is knock on the door to the universe, and you're a living witness.
Yeah.
You are a living witness to that. You went at it with passion and purpose. And my three here is possibilities: passion, purpose, possibility. And Andy Allen, for what you're doing and where you're going with this, it is just, I don't know, man. It just blows me away because I know that, like you said, you have that mindset culture. You have everyone on this team that's working together to make it all happen. And you know something? They can learn a lot from you, Andy. They can learn a lot from you. They can learn a lot about unconditional love. They can learn a lot about things that people don't understand. That when situations come up, and there's what I say, a moment in the valley. We all know what a moment in the valley is. You know that? And see,
Yeah.
but that's what spirit is. I won't
Yeah.
speak specifically about God, but I'm always going to speak about the spirit in us. And it seems to me like you've got the kind of spirit, Andy Allen, that when you connect, there's no disconnect. When you connect, people feel you. They know that I call it, instead of the AI, artificial intelligence, your authentic identification will always manifest itself.
Oh,
And I reached
thank
back
you.
to one of my old books, and I'm just saying that to you. No, thank you, because I know what you're doing. I know what you have to go through to get to. I know when your authentic you comes through. By the time you've done that, you've put out so many fires. You've been through so much in your profession, and a lot of people, they're hands off when it comes to kids with disabilities. That's why I brought up your work in the community, because I'm telling you, for me to get one employer to give one of my past program students a job, I must have talked to 20.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
telling you, and that is why I quantify with you, because I can quantify. I've been there before, and then when you go back to a place like Publix, and you see these kids are still there, or you go over to some of these other even small businesses, that will employ them. It is truly amazing. And the most important thing is that a lot of them are, well, let me say not a lot of them, most of them are not college-bound students. You and I both know that. And the greatest thing that could ever happen was for them to be where, shout out right now to Ms. Wendell Mola over at Sheraton Vocational School. Getting that certification is something that will be their passion. Getting that certification is something that will be their purpose. Getting that certification that will allow them to knock on the door. Because once you got the credential, I tell them, and I will still tell them, nobody can take that away. There were 3 words in my classroom, Andy. Knowledge is power. And I always have to put that adjective. Activated knowledge is power. You see, and for me, you make it your business to integrate people into the community who are activated. They're trained. They've been nurtured with the right, you said it, the mindset shift. There's a guy's name is Simon T. Bale, and I'll leave you with this. He said, relationships will always be the new currency. And Wendell Mola, when she was still in AP at West Broward High School, she made a broad announcement to the entire graduating class. Mr. Griffith, where are you, Mr. Griffith? He said this, and I'm going to take it tonight. Relationships will always be the new currency. And you know something? It will never change. If there were 45 people under your umbrella, Miss Allen, I can commend you, and I can say this to you, that your job is not done. I think there's another mission for you. I got a question I got to ask you, because it relates somewhat to where you are, what you've been doing, how you're doing this now. I said it earlier that West Broward High was the #1 fundraising high school in Broward County, and that was a few years ago. I don't know where they are right now. I haven't been in touch. I don't know if they're still holding down the fort or not. But, okay, who's the #1 fundraiser in Broward right now? Do you know? Do you know what school might be #1 in Broward County? Who's that right now?
That would still be West Broward.
Wow. That's amazing. Come on,
Yeah,
Andy.
yeah. They
That would
have
be
some competition on their
about-
heels. They definitely, have a little bit of competition, but one thing that I can say, it's a lot of schools that kind of, started this competitive edge between the other high schools, but West Broward just keeps that fire going. And last year we gave away a traveling trophy. And that
Mm,
traveling trophy is sitting with West Broward right now. And there are probably 5 other high schools in Broward County trying to
yes.
snatch it away. So it's
Yeah.
going to be fun to watch this year. This is via our Friendship Walk, which is one of 2 of our special events. And the students, they just love it. Our corporate partners, they have a blast. Our families come out, our vendors come out. It's
Mm.
pretty amazing, but the students, they really get behind it, and
Oh,
they raise a
yes.
lot of money. They raise a lot of money. It's pretty impressive for young people.
You know something? It's just a twofold question about raising money. You
Hmm.
know, you gave me the opportunity to come on the inside. You micromanage me. You sent me all the way to Orlando. You say, "Oh, Mr. Griffith, I think you can do this, but you got some homework. You got some things you got to do." And you know something? I'm so glad that you did, because to go to Orlando to see that big fundraising event, and the way the guy's name, I'm sorry, I can't even call his name now. You know who I'm talking about.
Yep, Jeff. Hmm.
Oh man. And to see the domino effect of what's going on. And one of my questions, because I'm speaking of that, is Best Buddies primarily just donor driven, or is it all donations? Are they in it because you're nonprofit? Are the grants going on? What is the primary fuel behind everything? Is it donations from the public, from the businesses?
So we're a big proponent of diversifying our funding. So our funding pie is diverse. And
Mm,
especially after the pandemic,
mm,
I think that was a hard lesson learned for a lot of people, that you can't be over reliant on just one income source.
yes.
So we get revenue through the Department of Education, our special events, both Champion of the Year and our Friendship Walks throughout the states, are bringing in over $2 million. So we get some government funding, we get some foundation funding, and we do a
Mm,
big end of year giving campaign, as well as a monthly giving campaign. So our funds are diverse, but again, our grants are bringing in about 2.5 million. Our special events are bringing in about 2.5 million, and the rest is, coming in through different sources, typically individuals.
oh, that
But
is.
all of that money, 81% of the dollars raised, are staying within the local communities. So that's the beauty of what we do. Is we're really here at Best Buddies, we're really great stewards of our donors' funding. We want to make sure that the dollars are going back into the program so that we can
Mhm.
expand, we can grow, we can offer more. We'll have another pillar before
I hear you,
before you
man.
know it. So, and all of those things need funding, but we do it because we recognize how impactful and important our
Mhm.
inclusion programs are.
Yes.
They give people a space to belong and feel accepted. And again, we are, changing the world one student at a time, one
Yes.
family at a time. And our goal, our mission is to have a more inclusive world, and we're doing that. So we got
Oh,
to
you
raise
say
the funds
something.
to keep
I
it
want. I
going.
want you to. I want to say that behind you. You're changing the world one student at a time. You're changing the world one family at a time. And you know
Yeah.
something? That's what it takes.
Yes.
And it's something about
Yeah.
West Broward High School. It's something about the culture in that school.
Hmm.
And like I worked in 3 high schools over my 31-year career as an ESC teacher and coach. 7 of those as a coach at Flanagan High School. And man, and all these schools were good schools, but it was something about that culture at West Broward High. And speaking of the parents, speaking of their hands-on ability, speaking of them to have empathy versus apathy
Hmm.
when it comes to what we're dealing with that they don't see, but them being very wide open to the reality of how many hours a week a teacher spends with students. They were,
Hmm.
I mean, I was just, I was just in awe. I mean,
Hmm.
and I think, I don't know if it's just because it's West Broward and West Pembroke Pines. I don't know what it is, Andy, but it's something like I've never experienced. And for you to tell me that West Broward is still the #1 school.
They
Woo!
are. They
Oh,
are. They are. They, you know what? They have written the playbook, at least within Broward County. Throughout the state, we have a number of schools that are just so extremely impressive in terms of also having that school-wide culture that accepts, the Best Buddies programming and embraces inclusion within their schools. But within Broward County, West Broward definitely, they played a huge role in writing the playbook, and
oh, you tell
they're
me
just
that.
extremely impressive.
It's super impressive.
Extremely.
You got to really
Hmm.
understand that a lot of what we encounter is that obscured apathy, I call it. Something's there like this. It's there. Everybody's turning the other cheek, but for some reason, at West Proud High School, they unveiled themselves. At West Proud High School, like I said to you earlier in this conversation, the kids are always excited when they would even come into my classrooms and want to just share what they're doing. And then when we had a rock star like Gregory in my classroom, who was like one of
Yeah.
those overall kids you just can't miss, because once again his relentless enthusiasm was just a
Yes.
contagious thing. And what
Yeah.
it was because they brought love, man. Every time those 4 or 5 little kids from one of the clubs would just come in and say, hey, man, we just want to sit down today and do this with Gregory, or this with Jennifer, or this with Sandy. And my wife handed me something just now. Not only Publix, there's a young lady that got hired at Walmart that's been working there over 25, almost 30 years. She was an 18-year-old. And I think Maru told me, how old is she now, Miriam? About 45 or something. She still
Yeah.
got that job. And it quantifies what you're saying. Kids learn something about just their dedication. They get it in the school system, and they get it through their parents. And once again, we didn't talk much about this. There's that piece of self-esteem that we all need. And for them,
Mhm.
the ones who may not be able to just get up and run like everyone, get up and speak like everyone, may not hear like everyone, but they have a heart. They have this
Yeah.
feeling about them that says, yes, I can, yes, I will,
Mhm.
yes, I must. And I always told people this, and I said it for the last 20 years of my life, probably there was a banner in the classroom, Andy, and it's so relevant to right now. The only limitations that exist are the ones you place upon yourself.
Mhm.
If you say I can,
Mhm.
it's a sure shot that you won't. But boy, the special needs kids that I work with who had a buddy and best buddies who showed up and said, yes, you can, Gregory. Yes, you can, Jennifer. Yes,
Yeah.
you can, Ricky. Yes, you can,
Mhm.
Augustus. Yes, you can. I mean, whatever those names of those kids were, and got out there and showed us
Mhm.
that once they embraced that reality, you know what it is? I think it's real simple. Everyone deserves a little pat on the back. That's what I loved about Special Olympics, because I didn't. And
Yeah.
now you tell him it's a Kennedy family organization. Also, there was something about between Special Olympics, between Best Buddies, that there are a lot of other organizations, And speaking of that right now, because it just came to my mind, I just want to segue into that right now. Are there any collaborations or partnerships with other nonprofits, like NAMI, Special Olympics, some
Mhm.
of these other organizations who are definitely dealing with people that deal with their mental, emotional state, physical limitations, a heterogeneous group of people with a lot of that? Are you all partnering with them at all? I don't see that happening a lot. Or is that on the should I say the trajectory of what you may want to do as far as partnering with other nonprofits that are helping those with those intellectual disabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. And before we move on, the one thing you said a couple of things, and
Yeah.
it reminded me that what you're speaking of in terms of giving people a chance, giving them a pat on the back. We call that unlocking potential.
Mm,
You
mm,
give someone the opportunity, you unlock that potential. It
mm.
is it is
Priceless.
just mind blowing at
Yes.
what they might be capable of when you
Mm,
just give them a chance. And that's whether you have an IDD or you don't have an IDD. But for
wow.
so
Yes.
often, individuals with IDD are just simply counted out. You
Oh
just
yeah.
think. You
Yeah.
assume that they can't do. And when you unlock that potential and you learn what they can do, it is mind blowing. So
It is.
I had to say that. I had
No,
to,
no, no, no. And I will say this to you that, I told you we'll go 45, and I'm already at 50 minutes. And I just want to say thank you. I knew this would be the kind of night. And I think that everyone, as my motto is, to inspire people, to empower people, to educate people, to let them just get your side of the story, as Zig Ziglar would say. And now, Andy Allen, I got the whole story. There's so many things about you I had no idea. The kind of accolades from your bio, the kind of things that you're telling me about how that mindset culture, the kind of things you're telling me about just that undying belief that everyone can achieve and everyone's story matters. And remember, I think it was the last part of one of my little text messages to you. Andy, we're going to have a great time tonight. And what did I say? Your story matters.
Yes.
I'm going to leave this up on my episodes that'll be archived. I'm going to post up some of the little clips from my AI clips that come up, because I know that they will be an inspiration to other people. All I can say to you is this, that I think every question I could possibly even ask right now, I probably covered it, and it happened so quickly. I'm looking up saying, wow, we're already over 45
Where'd the
minutes.
time go?
Well,
you said we were going to have fun, and that's exactly what we did. This has been a pleasure. Sometimes I find myself in these situations where, you're public speaking and you get nervous and your nerves get the best of you, and, your palms are sweating. But let me tell you, you are a master at what you do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you really are. You made me feel very, very comfortable. I have thoroughly enjoyed being a part of the GG Factor show. And I hope that somebody out there learns more about Best Buddies and they're interested in getting involved, because it is certainly it's certainly a nonprofit initiative that is more than worth it. We just really appreciate you, Mr. Griffith, and what you've been to Best Buddies all the years that you've been a part of this organization. So thank you.
I'm blessed. I've been blessed. And thank you for those kind words. I really mean that, and I'm on a mission with this show, just as I am on my, once again, plug for Thursday nights, that I want people to understand that, living a lifestyle where your lifestyle impacts others in a very positive way is my humanitarian mission. And I know, Miss Andy Allen, that I know it's yours. And from the day that you saw me, that was over 3 years ago. Well, yeah, this summer will be 3 years. I can't believe that you and I just happened to connect. And I always call it a God incidence. I don't call it a coincidence. I'm not wearing my hat that says God first tonight. But I want you to know this, that I know our paths cross for a reason. I know our paths cross for a season. And I'm going to put it out there. I'm praying that it'll be for a lifetime. And with that said, I start with music. I end with music. Andy Allen, State of Florida Director. Woo! Best Buddies. Keep doing what you're doing, because we need you, Andy. You just keep doing what you're doing. There's this bright light shining on you like, oh boy, I don't know. And all I can say is thank you. You reminded me to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm just trying to catch up with you, baby girl.
Ditto.
Yeah. So hey, be blessed. Continue on your quest. Stay in the mix for 2026. And I know the best is yet to come for Andy Allen. Be blessed.
Thank you. Same to you.
Oh, same to you. Yeah.